Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, Subade, I think people are sleeping on that guy.
I think so.
He's got some limitations, but when you look at just how rapidly he can change direction and choose whether to use a lot of space or a very little space on his attacks, I think as people get more polished with him, he's going to get considered more of a threat.
Yeah,
That move set is simple, but it's very, very good. It doesn't matter what your attack pattern is if you're simply at the wrong distance.
right.
And he's got an ability to change direction so quickly and so granularly
Hmm.
that he can simply invalidate a number of other moves simply by playing the distance game.
I see.
There, I'm dying on that hill. You guys can call me out on it 6 months from now.
He's kind of
Hmm.
straightforward.
He's
I
an
guess you'd,
Usman.
yeah, you'd kind of expect that though. He's a soldier. His style is kind of straightforward. It's not that it's ineffective as such, but
Hmm.
his moveset, he has some really neat moves that I could show you, but I'd say compared to these two, especially Yazlik, like it's a little bit lacking. But he is really good at one thing, and that's walking you down with his cross cuts and just going
Hmm.
nuts. He's a bit like Laszlo in some ways too, of how he holds the sword.
So this is a guy with one single game, and he's going to execute it really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And so he's got the attack linking perk as well. So if you
Hmm.
master his combos, he can come in surprisingly quickly with these cuts and cover a lot of space. He's also tall, and that hat exaggerates the effect a little bit too, actually, I found. He looks even taller than he actually is, but canonically, I think he's the tallest character in the game, so that's another thing with him.
I'm assuming based on the way his body is moving that he also hits like a truck.
So with certain cuts, that is true. Some of these faster cuts a little bit less so, but it's like
Hmm.
he has a chainsaw, if you will. Like if you get hit by one, you're gonna get hit by three. You're just done a lot of the time, if that makes sense.
Yep. I absolutely love the way they've set up his distance crossing.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is he's very vulnerable to the areas that you would expect based on where he's holding. Like anything that's coming down low, he really
Hmm.
struggles in to stay in the block. And so that is one of the major disadvantages. Like if I'm Barabash in this game and I'm fighting a Hasan, I love just throwing upcuts on him and nailing him as soon as he whiffs. He really struggles against that type of gameplay. There's ways around it. I would say he's one of the weaker characters, but at the very least, he has that simple game plan you can fall back on. And if an
Hmm.
opponent's not ready for it, you can still create some surprises for sure.
I like the granularity of his footwork.
Yeah, and that's a
So
nice stab, I will
you've
say.
made some movements where he's moving microscopically and then suddenly he's covering a lot of ground.
Hmm.
This is a guy I would play as a footwork specialist.
Yeah,
Fairly simple blade actions, but he looks like, and maybe you're just better at moving him, it looks like you can play a far more fluid distance management game with him.
yeah, I would say so. Some people describe him as Alexander or Denis, the like because his footwork on the surface looks kind of similar, but you can control it. He's not sort of stepping all the time. That's the learning curve of Alex you have to deal with. With this guy, it's
Right.
all like this is all me inputting it for him to do that.
Yeah, and you see how quickly you just changed directions there?
Yeah,
I have not seen that crispness of direction change in some of the other characters. And if
yeah,
you weaponize that, you've got a real advantage in a game that punishes you for whipping.
right.
Excuse me, for whiffing. So this guy, if played well, should have an absolutely horrifying countercut game.
Yeah. And I would say that's more or less right. Like, although people often underestimate him, there are times where he suddenly hits you in the head out of nowhere, and you're like, where did that come from? Because it just comes in so fast.
Yep.
And you saw that dash thrust too. This
Yes, I did.
number, this is nasty. Especially if you hit properly with the tip to the body, like that's just game over.
Oh yeah. That's going
Yeah.
to go in like a cat's claw.
And you do have to long guard it, generally speaking, to block it, or somehow blade beat it. But it's easier said than done blade beating a thrust like that. It curves right around, so
How is his cut directly from his long guard?
yeah, I'll show you some of those.
If he can use that mobility to really cross distance directly from the long guard,
Hmm.
that would be very nasty.
Yeah, so he's got what's called surprise cut from here. Again, because oftentimes when you're long guarding, you're trying to stab in this game, but a lot of these
Right.
saber characters, they have cuts as well that are pretty threatening.
Yeah, so
Short,
there's your cut one Moulin out of guard.
yeah, and he's got
That's
that as
nice.
well. Yeah. Speaking of Denis Alexander, as many call him still, his name was changed, like we said earlier, so he wouldn't get confused with Tarnovsky, but he uses his surname
Hmm.
now. But very similar thrust idea there, just sort of stabbing right to the head.
Yep. And he walks it in, which is really nice,
Yeah,
which means you have minimal actual blade movement. So if your opponent is a little bit jumpy, they can miss that you've shifted.
yeah. And you can actually throw somebody off balance if they're trying to long guard you too, if you close in. Because
Hmm.
yes, in this game you're trying to get a bind to stop a thrust, but if you really like close in like this, you can start throwing cuts instead. Sometimes stabs will get through too. It's not a
Yeah, and your position is very strong.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so very often you'll catch people like that, especially if they're trying to stab you. Like if you see a thrust incoming, you can try and catch it and then hit the head with
Yep.
that move. Yeah, so in this case he blocked it, but there is that threat that sometimes, especially if you don't get a bind beforehand, that the thrust will just get right through if you let
How's
him
he on
get
the
too
false
close.
edge?
Oh yes, he's got some fancy ones too with the false edge. Let me find them. Back edge thrust. That's interesting.
There we go. Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah. And he's got a tartar cut. That's interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, so he can retreat with that and then nail the hand at a strange timing, which, believe it or not, a lot of people will fall for that. Uh,
Oh
Gideon has
no,
a
it's
similar
very
cut.
believable.
Yeah. A lot of players look at cuts like that. They're like, these are really slow cuts. They must be really easy to counter. But you see a skilled person throw those out there. Suddenly their hand is the one that's being hit, not the opponent's.
Right, because you see how his entire body moves. He's removed target area in order to chamber the blow. So it's
Right.
kind of like the really florid karate blocks that people make fun of. They
Hmm.
don't understand that they're seeing big setup preparatory energy rather than just, hey, this is a slow action. Nice feint there.
Yeah, and it's listed as a feint too. You can see that magic dust, again, to tell the player that it is a feint.
Hmm.
And there's two ways to counter a feint. Hit the opponent first, call them out on it, or get out of the way in this game. You
Yep.
don't want to block them, generally speaking. It's designed to trick the auto guard like so. And there's also manual feints in this game too, like you can cancel cuts and throw whatever you want as well. So that's pretty neat. You can actually trick the player as well, not just the auto guard in some situations.
Now we don't obviously have a live player here. How
Yeah,
well is Hassan able to land cuts while retreating?
I would say he's more about walking you down in this game.
Okay.
His retreat game isn't quite as strong. Theoretically, you can pull it off, but I think he really thrives just walking the opponent down and getting those stabs in there, the cuts, etc. Oh yes, he's got this as well. This is again nice against somebody who wants to stab you. You suddenly close in and deliver that cut after letting the
Hmm.
thrust roll off your blade.
Absolutely.
And
Looked like we
characters with
glitched
higher
there.
guard.
So was that a
Yeah.
so was that a cut five false? Was that a false edge cut to the
It's more of a true edge cut.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see it. I see it now. Thanks.
yeah, yeah. No worries. Yeah, that was
Still
a little
really
bit of a
nice.
glitch. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really nasty if after the true edge cut, as he recovers to guard,
Mm-hmm.
Kobold could stick a false edge cut on top of that.
Yeah,
That would make this guy really nasty.
yeah. And like I mentioned, his moveset, like there's not that much to it. He does this though, this false edge cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's called backflip. You can use the curve to sneak around and hit the head.
Yep.
It's a little bit slow, of course, but what you get from that is something that'll actually threaten the opponent's guard versus just if the opponent's standing there, they'll block it and sort of you're exchanging or whatever happens. So
Right.
that's nice. He has guard crusher as well. Basically braces the blade and
Yes,
goes
there
right
we
in.
go. Yep, yep, yep.
It's
Then
funny
you
for
have a
the
beautiful cut in opposition.
yeah. For the longest time, we thought this was a terrible move, but I don't know if Kupol made a change or something, but it hits hard now.
No, that's murder fuel. That is
Yeah,
absolute murder fuel. You're walking up a giant bar into the other person's blade.
yeah, yeah. And this is designed to, in the game, to always get through the guard because you're bracing the blade and you're just not blocking it. You might be able to interrupt it, but there's no just standing there and trying to parry it.
No, there's no way the leverage works. It's the entire body weight with the hand to the flat of your blade. He is
Yeah,
absolutely going into you with the weak once he pushes that aside.
yeah. Yeah, and there were players who proved us wrong. Like this, if you just stand there, you're in trouble. This is gonna
Yeah,
mess you
what
up.
I would want to see from a good Hassan player is to get good at retreating and just where you think you're about to land the combo, then he shoves that right into your face.
Right.
And I don't know if the moveset allows it, but that would make it really nasty.
Yeah.
Because of the way he tends to pull his right foot back,
Mm-hmm.
mechanically that sets up the move for breaking that guard.
And this cut's pretty neat as well. You can see it actually does have a chance to bypass the guard. A little slow,
Hmm.
but that awkward angle, especially if your opponent's not ready, I could see that having
Yep,
a chance at working.
that's another one of the category of would make a really nasty countercut.
Yeah. And I think we basically covered everything else. His moveset isn't that diverse, but his basic cuts are simple to pull off. And he's got some unique moves, I think, that other sabers don't have, so that's nice.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, Subade, I think people are sleeping on that guy.
I think so.
He's got some limitations, but when you look at just how rapidly he can change direction and choose whether to use a lot of space or a very little space on his attacks, I think as people get more polished with him, he's going to get considered more of a threat.
Yeah,
That moveset is simple, but it's very, very good.
nice. So for people who are doubting Hassan or want to make Hassan work, you heard it first. Give him a try.